We are live. This is Justin with Justin Answer. And if you know me, you know that I am obsessed with fulfilling my human potential and helping you to maximize your human potential. So on that note, my illustrious guest who is here with me today, Geoffrey Fullerton, is the founder of the Hotel Sales Institute. And he's also someone who is passionate about not only maximizing his own human potential physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, he's also someone who has helped leverage so many industries, not just hotels, but also sales, the travel industry, the transportation industry, so many companies. I mean, one company that I can think of off the top of my head is Sandals. They're huge. If you don't know them, I don't know if you've been under a rock. So if he can transform the whole atmosphere and culture of a staff, if he can lift their morale, if he can really make a difference to them, then he can make a difference to you. Whether you are in tourism or not, you should really be paying attention and hanging on every word that he says, because this gentleman knows what he's talking about when it comes to human potential, when it comes to sales, when it comes to revenues. And you know what? That'll apply for your household as well as your business. So Geoffrey, welcome from Jamaica. I love having you here and I love seeing your face.
Great, Justin. Thank you so much, man. I've been looking forward to this since we decided to do this interview, so I'm really glad to be on here. And I know that between the two of us will provide a tremendous amount of value for all your listeners and viewers here today, too. So looking forward to it.
Well, that's the plan. That's the idea. I'm just going to monitor here for any comments that I have. So I'm going to turn off the volume and just monitor that. So if you have any comments or questions for Geoffrey as you're watching this, then please, by all means, go ahead and post them in the comments in the live feed. If you're on my Facebook page, The Justin Dunn, if you're in the Business of Living Facebook group, I may not see it, so you might want to head out and watch it. I don't know how it works exactly, but whatever it is, ask those questions away and we'll confront Geoffrey with them. But I have my own questions that I ask everybody. So Geoffrey, what's been your biggest challenge in business and how have you overcome it?
Well, great question, because I think for me, right off the bat, the biggest challenge that I've had in business is a consistency of letting people know how I can help. And so in the business world, we'd call that marketing and promotion, right? And it kind of reminds me of a funny story, because in junior high school and high school, I only played basketball, 1 year. I played other sports, but I played basketball only 1 year because I didn't really enjoy it, because I ran faster than I could dribble. And so you can imagine the inherent problems with that, right? And one of the things that I've had challenges with in business is the aspect of making it consistent, dribbling, right? Constant dribbling. So marketing was the challenge. And so some of the ways how I've overcome it is actually, I realize one of the things that I do and enjoy doing and seem to have an impact on people to the point where they carry on the message is speaking in public. And so I learned years ago, after doing some analysis of what I was doing and how our business was developing and how we were generating our revenue. And I realized that when I stand in front of a group, that's the right group, and I speak from the heart about the things that I believe, people reach and carry on a message. And that's been my ultimate solution to the challenges of consistency in marketing.
Fantastic. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Again, it doesn't matter what industry they're in. They could be a baker. They can relate to the fact that we need to get our message out there. I mean, just in the town that I live in here in England, there's been, before the pandemic, there's been bakeries that have shut down. Yeah. They're worried about how does this bakery compete with like the cheap bread at Tesco, the supermarket. So how do they get the message out? Now, if Correct. They don't have a message, if they're just there nickel and diming their public and trying to make cheap crap, then good, they should go out of business. Nobody has a right to, be a baker, but they have a right to give some excellent service and bake some wonderful bread and have people consume that. So if they have let's say if they have a message, then what you're saying here is as long as that's your mastery and it's your authenticity, there's nothing to fear about. Get yourself out there and speak in front of people. And that's powerful because I'm just thinking in my little town, bakery over there shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a block away, there was a weekly business group that met for free. And if that person would just came there and declaim their passion for the bread that they make and ask everyone to help them and spread the word about the amazing bread that they can get there, you know, there'd be 30 to 50 people there each time.
So
that
true.
might have saved the bakery.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true because, you know, the fact of the matter is when you look at it is that when you hold yourself in, right? When you restrain yourself from communicating, right? You'll tend to get smaller. So if you think of that as a business, if you're not in the process of communicating as frequently and often as possible, then the amount of business you have, even the potential to create, is going to be lessened. And, you know, and I think that, you know, like right now, a lot of companies, similar thing happened in 2007, 2008, used the situation in the world as their reason why they had to close up shop, et cetera. But the writing was already on the wall for many companies. This was just the last death rattle for those, right? And I think it really comes back to the aspect of being willing to communicate, willing to share your message, willing to share how you bring value to the people that you want to serve.
Yeah. And I think, but there's another lesson there because I think a lot of people watching, you know, might be like, oh, I'm shy. I can't speak in front of people. You know, they can't speak. Right. But we're not asking you to become an orator. We're not asking you to compete with Churchill. We're just asking you to be authentic, be yourself, tell your story. Nothing more than that. So
Yes.
if there's one person or 20 people watching, just don't worry about it. Because if you're lying or trying to conjure up some fabricated speech that, you know, or memorize something, maybe you don't have a good, doesn't matter. Just go up there and be your nervous self and everyone will support you, especially locally. And I think that to me is a powerful message because a lot of business people will say, I'm too shy. I'm too shy to do that kind of thing, to speak in front of people. Well, do you want to, I mean, my question is, do you want the business to survive? Because you are speaking in front of people every single day. If you're, let's say you're a butcher, a customer comes in or 5 customers comes in, you're speaking in front of them. You're talking in front of them. So it's no different between you serving one customer and you just speaking about what you do and the quality of what you do to a group of 10, 15, 20, or 50. There's no difference there other than more eyeballs and bodies. And so it really comes down to a question. Do you want the business to survive? So I love that lesson. The next question I have for you is, because you've had quite a illustrious, diverse journey, much like myself. People are always surprised at how many industries that I've seen, maybe not quite as many as the famous J. Abraham, but I'm actually quite up there, you know, in my years. So you are also quite up there in your years, and the ability to cross-pollinate and synthesize, to not just think laterally, because that's like thinking from one department to another, but to actually take something from one industry and adapt it for another industry. That's where the most genius and what they call in the buzzword jargon, that's where the step change comes from. So what would you say is the accomplishment you're most proud of in business so far?
Wow, that's such a great question. You know, I think the thing that I'm most proud of in business, and this is not an episode or an event, it's an ability that I'm most proud of. And that is very much what you're talking about to harmonize the experiences of the past and be able to bring value with them in the present in order to create a more dynamic future. So, you know, one of the things that I go back to is the clothing industry. I started when I was 22 years old, with a company called Club Monaco, which is now owned by Ralph Lauren. It was a Canadian company originated by Alfred Sung, a Canadian designer. And I remember that some of the basic core aspects of sales and selling were learned in that experience as a manager of one of these stores. And I helped them build 5 locations across Western Canada while I was there in my early 20s. But some of those key factors, and a thing that I really appreciate is that till this day, some of those basics have stuck, as simple as they may have seemed, such as, you know what? Continue offering things of value. Like they came in for a pair of pants, right? Continue to offer something of value that they actually can have an outfit. So what's the shirt like? What about the socks would go great with this, right? And it's a constant intention of serving them at the highest level. So I think that's one of the things that I'm most proud about, is that the things that I learned in my early 20s in regards to what I do now, helping expand revenue, that those things have stuck and they're still true today as they were back then. And I think they're even more powerful now because I understand the simplicity, but the effectiveness of some of these simple principles in regards to sales and generating revenue.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because the simplicity, I find, is often where the effectiveness lies.
Absolutely agree with you 100%.
And I've said to other people that actually the simplicity is powerful. The complexity is tending just to hide things. It just hides things and obfuscates what's really going on. The simplicity is where the power is. But I think what you just said is actually even more apropos, because what you just said is that the simplicity is the effectiveness. And so rather than talk about powerful, now we're talking about effectiveness. And what does that mean? That means achieving the result that you want. You claim you want X result. So let's take a look at what is the simplest route to get there. And if it's too complex, number one, you ain't going to do it. You might procrastinate. But number two, why is it so complex? When you can actually get there quicker, faster, and more prosperously with the simplicity of it. So I'm glad you brought that up. So the next question I have for you is, how did having a core strategy play into achieving that accomplishment?
Oh, yeah. Because you know what? As I went through different industries, what I found is that I had to initially, it was just through, I guess I should do it like this, right? And as I got more and more aware of myself, my abilities and potentials, I started to systemize things, started to put them into kind of a system that just made sense to me. And it's like when I worked, I ran for a period of time an Anthony Robbins center, right? Tony Robbins Center in Vancouver, Canada. And imagine this, 2 Jamaicans running a personal development organization. It was myself and my buddy David Chang, Chinese Jamaican, right? And we had a concept that we actually developed, right? And it became a core concept, which is actually finding out what people really need and want, right? And really just trying to answer that through our actions and behaviors. And that became a core principle. It's like a buddy of mine here he now uses the language of saying, like how you actually need to find out what's the need and want of somebody, right? And he talks about that. It's always when he's talking in reference to me. But that became a core strategy, because if I can actually help somebody discover what it is that they want, and I can help them express it, then I find that I become even more valuable in that person's world. And so that's a core strategy, finding out what people need and want, and then, and actually even the process of helping them get clear on those things.
Again, I'm really glad you said that, because one of the big mistakes that I notice in business is that people have a great idea, but nobody wants it. Nobody needs it.
Yeah.
And it's like, right, okay, so who are you going to sell it to? And actually, the truth is you could fulfill a want that's actually pretty harmful to people and make a ton of cash. Now, that's not my preference. I don't want to open up, I won't get political or controversial, but I personally will open up like a strip club or, something like, or even a nightclub, because A, I'm not into that. B, I got morality issues with it. But
Right.
you could still make a ton of cash doing that because you're fulfilling the want or the need.
Mhm.
And so I think that's really important, especially for us business people, to really focus on fulfilling those needs and those wants. I noticed that one of my former colleagues, Cindy Perez, is watching. Salut Cindy, j'espère que vous allez bien. We used to work together.
Oh,
And so
fantastic.
it's lovely that she's watching. I think she still is perhaps in the tourism industry. So there is a lot to learn from Joffrey because of the influence that he has in that industry. So Joffrey, what are 3 to 5 key skills, moves, techniques that protect against failure? Teach us, Joffrey.
Oh, great. Like I'm going to speak specifically in regards to the industry that I spent a good amount of time in, and that is the travel and tourism industry. The first thing is really what I call the mindset. And mindset, I break it down into 3 parts: the attitude, communication, and transformation. And if you look at the first letter of each of those words, it spells the word act. So in order to act, one must lay in the proper mindset, which consists of the attitude that the person predominantly holds, right? Their willingness to communicate, and their ability to transform not just themselves in the process, but to transform their guests, transform their clients, their customers through experiences. So those are 3 really foundational things, because if you don't get those things in first, the person doesn't really have a compass to operate from.
Mm.
And then also and so we do that in the hotel industry by really helping each member of an organization, starting from the owners, the operators, the operations team, in getting clear on what is the best attitude to maintain in order to maximize on profit, maximize on creating experiences of value.
It's fun.
So,
I'll
I'm
stop you
gonna
right
leave you with
there
those.
because I wanted to say that I remember, and Cindy might remember this from our time at Disney together, Disneyland together, that we teach or we taught a model called the service model. The service model was exactly those behaviors to model at Disneyland. So each letter was an acronym. It's sort of smile, eye contact,
Yes.
respect and
Yes.
welcome, value the magic, initiate guest contact. That meant don't passively wait for them to come to you. You go seek them out.
Yes.
Create service solutions. Don't always wait for the manager or whatever. You create the service solution and end with a thank you. And so that is a behavioral model, but an acronym, that you could remember easily, that affected those actions that hopefully, and people would always ask me, okay, I don't want to have this fake plastic smile, right? And I'd be like, no, that's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm not asking you to artificially smile and make eye contact. I'm
Correct.
asking you to
Yeah.
find something to smile about. And for my cynical friends, I told them, go ahead and pick something funny looking about the guest and that makes you laugh and smile. I don't care what it is. Just don't be fake about it. Find
Yep.
something that makes you smile, whether it's a memory or whether it's hopefully in present time. And so that's exactly kind of what you're saying, but you're obviously teaching it from a senior level to just simply, here's a little behavior model that we use in this one company, because this is something that could work for every company.
Yeah. And you know what, Justin, I'll tell you something that one of the thing, we get thousands and thousands of surveys that come back, right? From our experiences that we create. And here's the thing that is a consistency. And this is a theme of mine, is getting people excited about themselves. So how do you do that, right? How do you do that at an all-inclusive resort where tipping is not allowed? how do you get people to get excited about themselves and deliver the highest quality service possible, right? You've got to get them excited about their potentials, their possibilities. And most people have put those away, swept them under the carpet somewhere, sometime in the past, right? And one of the things that we do that is so successful is that we get them to pull those things back out, blow off the dust on them, and polish them up to the point where they realize that this is their underlying purpose. And then we help them to harmonize that purpose with the work and service and even sales that they're developing in the organization. Those are transferable across any industry. But in the service industry, in the hospitality industry, it's vital. And so people are operating from a personal purpose, you know, and that's a differentiating factor to what we've been doing.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's incredible because I'm going to appear with Mark Joyner in one of his private mentoring groups because he asked me and you know Mark Joyner, right? I mean, yeah. Many of you might not know who he is, but he is like the legend of internet marketing. You know, this guy invented the tracking pixel. He's evil genius, or just a genius. Or but the thing is that, you know, the reason I'm coming on there is because he said one thing that he learned from his time in the military, and that is that if basic training hasn't changed you, then nothing will, because you can't change someone. You just need to fire someone that has questionable character or honesty issues. And I said to him, actually, no, I've actually successfully changed. You know, I had a couple like liars working for me, and I was like, I got them to show up and basically throw away the fake doctor's note that they were going to skip out of work on. And so he wanted to find out, well, how did you manage to do that? One of the reasons I did that is because I had no choice, because at that particular workplace, it's not easy to fire them. In some countries it is. In some countries you're looking at, it's almost impossible to fire people. So I had to work with them. And so that necessity drove me to figure out what to do. And a lot of what I did was exactly what you're talking about. A lot of what I did was to work with their personal self-interest and try to figure out how a Machiavellian type of person might still perform service for another person, even though inside they're not doing it because they love them. They're doing it because there's something in it for them. But figuring all of that out was a real important thing. And I love that, you know, we're like on the same page with that. I mean, that's just like the coolest thing. So how about this? So how has leveraging proven strategies affected your earning capacity, like you personally?
Oh, well, this is actually what's great. Like, you know, the core strategies, like the original program, actually, I'll show you this. I don't know if it can come across here.
Oh, wow. That looks amazing.
Yeah, this is the mindset, mission, and moves of luxury travel professionals. And this was, speaking of necessity, yeah, there you go. You got your purple going on there. There's a whole story with me in purple too. That's why I allowed you to wear purple today, right? I'll give you the limelight of purple. But, you know, this program, right, our signature programs adopt, you know, mindset, right? As I mentioned earlier, mission, now you're operating with a purpose. And then from there come all the strategies, techniques, and all that kind of stuff through the moves that you make. And, you know, how I've leveraged that, I mean, the whole creation of that was for me reverse engineering what made me successful when I was working in the cruise line industry as initially a fine art auctioneer, and for 7 years representing the largest privately owned art gallery in America, Park West Gallery. And then and one of 200 people on the planet that did that. And then as a shopping guide where I basically influence people to invest in diamonds, gemstones, and fine watches, and became one of the top producers in both of those very odd and unique industries, and also in that capacity. So I literally reverse engineered what I did, and I realized I operated from a particular mindset, particular point of view about my responsibility, as well as how I can provide service. I had operated from a mission. The mission was really to become the only logical choice for the greatest experience on a vacation, right? that they'll create memories of a lifetime. And then thirdly, the moves. I realized there were certain things in a particular order and sequence that when done were 100% effective. And so I went from not even knowing how to do an auction. All I knew is from watching a TV, a movie, right? To between those two aspects over just short of a 9-year period in that industry, selling close to 32 million US dollars in luxury goods. And so, and the great thing is it was commission, right? So
wow.
always good, right? And, so what I ended up doing is following those three things, which ironically, as I was asked to produce something for Sandals Resorts International when I moved back to Jamaica, it became known as the M3, but that's mindset, mission, and moves. So those three things have been a core in my ability to transfer my skills and my abilities to others and generate revenue over that time.
That's really, really cool, by the way. Anyone will say, wow, when you hear commissions and the level of things that you were working on and luxury. Everybody like fantasizes about luxury these days.
Stuff,
but
right?
This is all super transferable to no matter what it is that you're doing, even if you're employed and you're running your own household, because you can motivate. People should get a copy of your book, because how do I motivate myself? People ask the question on LinkedIn today.
Yeah.
How can I get more visibility at work? Okay, so you can hire an executive coach like the great, legendary Audra Christie, right? And she can one-on-one coach you to really get that visibility, or watch the interview I did with her. But the other thing you can do is, get a copy of your book, read the book, and figure out the M3 system, the mindset, the mission, the move. How do you motivate yourself to do such a fabulous job, such an amazing piece of work, that you become the only logical choice for promotion? Because nobody else can do what it is that you do, or you make yourself so indispensable that when it comes time to furlough or hire or firings, you're the last person they think about, because the business might not survive without you. So literally, that is an amazing, an amazing thing that you just shared. So thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to ask you the next question, which is that what was the best strategy that you ever learned, and what impact did that have on your business?
Oh, wow. Got some great questions. Give me that one again, please.
No problem. So that question was, what was the best strategy that you ever learned from someone else, obviously, and what impact did it have on your business?
Oh my gosh. You know what? The first thing I thought of, I got to take you all your listeners and yourself to St. Lucia. And in St. Lucia, I was taking the entire team there at the Sandals Grand St. Lucian Hotel through the M3 process. And a lady I ran into this lady, and I took the concept of giving her what's called an effective compliment. And it's something that I had learned many, many years ago. The first time I heard of it was through Tony Robbins, was the first time I heard of it. And then I've heard it through many others since then. But what was really cool was the fact that it just naturally came out. And I stopped this lady. I said, do you mind if I compliment you on something? And she says, no, not at all. And now she was dressed in black and white, and with what her hair was like salt and pepper, black and white hair. And I said to her, I just love how you've put yourself together, the design and everything like that, how you're wearing your clothes and going with your hair and all this kind of stuff, right? And I said, and by the way, I love that. And the reason why I love it is because it tells me that you love taking care of yourself. And I'm curious, what is it that causes you to be so caring of yourself and how you put yourself together? Well, this woman stopped. She literally took her hand and put it to her heart like this and looked at me with this look like, where did you come from? Right? And she said, I'm an interior designer. And what I realized is that I had given her probably the greatest personal yet also professional compliment, that she literally embodied what her creativity is. And, you know, I said, that's fantastic. I can imagine the places that you design are beautiful, you know? And I said, well, have a great time resort. And I started walking away. This was the woman. She was like looking for me, you know? Every time I ran into her during the days, this woman sought me out to wave and say hi. Here's the lesson that I learned. And this is why this is a core foundational strategy, as simple, and in some people's cases, they might think as juvenile as it might seem. Giving an effective compliment is all about making someone feel great about themselves. And the foundational strategy and concept that I operate on is that everyone is starving for acknowledgement. And when you realize that, right, and realize all the obstacles to someone feeling great about themselves, then you can make the decision to be that catalyst that does evoke that feeling of pride and respect and honoring yourself, right? And so this is a foundational thing, giving effective compliments. It's never left me. And when I share that strategy with people, it literally has changed people's lives.
Do you know, that's an interesting point that you bring there, because it's something that I've always done. I've always loved to be very genuine and recognize beauty or recognize competence or recognize anything that I see before me that I admire. And it's for me, it's an admiration thing, and it's always genuine. I never like BS someone. Like, I won't tell you you look great if I think you look like shit. It's just,
Right.
it's not going to happen. And so, but there's another thing, and that is the intention behind it. So what you're saying is that make someone feel better about themselves. Now, if the intention behind it is to use someone or get something out of it, then it becomes just like superficial flattery. You know,
Yes.
if you come on here and I say, Joffrey, that's a great shirt, and it's not a genuine compliment. It's not coming from a good place. It's coming from a place because, like, I want your money or whatever. Then it just becomes really superficial flattery, and that is when it backfires. Because if you do that,
it's interesting you mentioned this about flattery, because I give some history on flattery. Flattery, that term and the whole existence of it, comes back from the days of the royalty, right? And times of royalty. They had people,
I didn't know
and in
that.
order for these people to sustain their position at court, right? They flowered the royalty with compliments, et cetera, right? Sweet endearments and things like that had no real core behind it, which they flattered them, right? And this is one of the things that is so empowering about when you actually even ask the question or answer the question, why do I find that valuable, or why do I appreciate that thing? And you tell them that. If you don't do that to someone, your comment could come across as flattery. And, people are so used to having somebody flippantly just say something, whether positive or negative, to them with no reason why. And
what's remarkable about what you're saying there is that this is not just a social technique that you use, like to get the girl or whatever. What we're talking about here is something to use at work, in customer service, if you're an employee, in a meeting. It really is a tool that you're teaching in your book and in your methods how to leverage professionally, but how to do it with class and dignity so that it doesn't become flattery as in, and I didn't know that about the courts, flattery as in I'm just trying to appease the king or queen or whatever,
right,
and tell him or her how their beauty, or prevent myself from like being beheaded. But you're saying this is how to do it in a genuine, authentic, dignified, classy way, but as a very important and vital tool for business, that you can't do it Oh, I noticed that Will Ingleby is tuning in. He's a business leader in our community here where I reside, around these counties in this region, in a different industry than tourism. But I'm sure he'd be very interested, and I'm sure he would agree with the flattery issue and the intentions behind it. So I'm really glad that he's actually tuning in. So I've got another question for you then, because that is a great strategy actually that I think is awesome. But what single strategy are you best known for?
Wow. Well, you know what? I think I'll be repeating myself because it is this aspect about getting people excited about themselves. Because let me tell you, since I was a child, okay, I didn't know how to put it into words at that time, but I had that sensibility about myself, is to get people excited about themselves, their potential, their ability. People sometimes look at me as a great cheerleader, right? But I'm not like pom-poms cheerleading. I'm actually taking the time to observe. And this is the distinction. Think of any industry and think of the travel and tourism industry. If you can actually shift the behavior of people to the point where they can choose to observe what actually is right there and to appreciate it, right? And then speak on it from that level of appreciation, it's a direct transference of acknowledgement. And it gets a person that's receiving it to feel better about themselves and how they're valuable, right? And so that's one of the things definitely I'm known for, and that strategy is to actually do things, say things that get people to feel stronger, more empowered, and mainly because they're excited about themselves and their potential.
Yeah, no, I love that, because I think the key is there. You've got some observation there. It's not just a superficial thing. You're observing someone. You're thinking deeply, and it becomes thoughtful. It doesn't just become a superficial, narcissistic mechanism or Machiavellian mechanism. It becomes a thoughtful thing that you're doing, that you would do regardless of whether the context is business or whether you're just meeting someone out in friendship. This is just it becomes a natural way of being and helps in all aspects and facets of life, which I think is fantastic. So, Joffrey, what is the best number one strategy you're implementing in 2020?
Okay. It's totally all about marketing your message, getting your message. That's what I'm focusing on this year, is really being able to discover the message that I want to convey that's connected to the value that I know I can bring, designing the ways and means of doing so, right? Like a strategic plan of doing so, and then deploying it almost in a military sense, where there's a consistency of action in the utilization of resources. Because the more that we do that in this year, especially how a lot of people have lost some momentum in this front part of the year, right? I think when you discover your clear message, you design a way to actually get it out there, and then you start deploying it, utilizing all resources you have access to, you're going to be able to help more people, and you're going to be able to make up on any lost ground that some people may have had happen in the front part of this year. So that's our focus. It's kind of the 3D approach, I call it. It's that 3D approach this year to give the future a way better light, and the realizations come out the end of it.
I'm glad you said that, because I just last night wrote my chairman's report for a small nonprofit organization where I'm chairman of the board of trustees. And honestly, one of the things I'm extremely proud of is that so many people are struggling. And I get it. It's struggling, tough times. But we managed, and especially in the nonprofit industry. So get this, fundraising, everybody's like complaining, there's no funding. In the first 6 weeks of 2020, we secured more funding than all of 2019.
Unbelievable. Right? Yeah.
How did we do that? Exactly what you're talking about there. That strategic mindset and outlook of what to do is the secret sauce that I kept drumming into our chief executive, because that's kind of why I'm here. I'm, bounce some ideas off me and give a little bit of strategic direction. And then, of course, oversight and governance and all that other fancy stuff. But we're 100% compliant, so all good there. But the point is that it's like, that's what we did. That was where I kept pushing the team to go in that direction. And do you know what? It worked. By doing that, by reframing the website, by we just now, during, like, this is as bad as it gets right now. Right now, we just secured even more funding to do more good in the world, in the community, to help even more service users. And how did we do that? Not by begging, but by making sure that we evidence and that we have the value, the service, what the needs are being met in present time of the people that we're doing. So that is a remarkable thing that you just said, and I'm very grateful for it. So Joffrey, let me just really quickly say that in my notes, today you taught us so much more than I was hoping, because we went over your proprietary M3 system. We went over the ACT, the act. How do you act at work to get the maximum leverage? We also talked about techniques and tips about compliments and strategies around that, where it becomes not just a superficial thing you do to pick up girls, but something that you can use professionally in work, in business, to get you ahead and to get you prospering and to get those revenues and profits where you want them to be, where they should be. And of course, you talked about observe, appreciate, and acknowledge. And that to me is also extremely powerful, because without observation, I mean, do you know what? I mean, I hate it when somebody says to me, and I said this to Jill Kirsch as well, the guru of hue that I interviewed, because sometimes it's down to the color shirt you're wearing, but sometimes people say, oh, you're looking tired. You're not looking well today. Are you unwell? And I'm like, no, I feel great. Thank you. Do you know what I mean? It's just almost like I want to give that, passive aggressive response, because that's where I feel that communication is coming from. It's coming from a very non-observing thing where, perhaps I was wearing the wrong color, and so I look a little peaked, but I was feeling great. And if they were observing my behavior, my tonality and all of that, they would know that I'm feeling great and I may be just wearing an ugly shirt. And so that observation is so key. So Joffrey, how do we learn more about your proven process?
I think the fastest and simplest way would be to when you go to Facebook, just type in the search, 3 words: hotel, sales, institute. Plain and simple. Then my group will come up there, and I have an interactive private group where we work with the decision makers in the tourism industry, maximize their profits. And now, whether you're in the tourism industry or not, one of the foundational things that you're going to receive there, outside of a copy of my book, if they actually answer our preliminary qualifying questions, they'll also receive a copy of my new book called Tourism Revenue Revelations. And in fact, in that book, I have the entire process of those compliments, what I call the feel-good formula, right, is in the book. So it's where a lot of people have had some very impactful experiences. And so I left that all in the book there as well. But go to that private group. There's going to be lots that they can learn and lots that they can use in any industry. And I would love to see them there and find out how I can be of service and how what we're providing can help them expand and become even more than they already are.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So Hotel Sales Institute. So look, if all you got out of this today was, what you got out of it today, and you learned a little bit of techniques, a little bit of tools to help you be more effective at work, to help you not put your foot in your mouth and look like some kind of cheap flatterer, but you can actually pay people genuine compliments. If that's all you got out of today, then you're good. But I highly endorse and recommend Joffrey. What I didn't say at the beginning is that I have personally known Joffrey for over 20 years. Yeah, we met in a different industry, in a different country, in California, when we were both actors. Correct. And I don't think you're concealing the fact that you were a artist, you were an actor. And 100%. So that's how we met originally. We both then had very multifarious careers over our lives, which has exposed us to so many different industries. And Joffrey today is somebody who has advised the top of the food chain in tourism, in travel. I mean, presidents, founders, owners, people in the literally the top of the food chain. And here you have in front of you the advisor, the consultant, whatever you want to call him, who has helped those top of the food chain in those industries all over the world. It's not isolated to Jamaica. He just happens to be from and live in paradise. But this is a guy who has advised.
If you have a choice, why not, right?
You know, exactly. That's why he doesn't sound like this, Mon. And sorry, I just butchered the Jamaican accent. Anyway, give me a mango. The point is that you have just witnessed somebody who is a real thought leader, opinion leader, and influencer in the world of travel and tourism, tipping off his secrets for success in advising his clients in also other industries from his long career. Because like me, he's older than he looks. And so, yeah, if I told you how old Joffrey is, you'd be like, what? You'd also want like health advice and longevity advice for him and like skincare and all that stuff. So I'm not going to go there. But the point is really go to the Hotel Sales Institute because you absolutely want a copy of his book. Am I selling anything to you here? No, because it's not a book that costs money. You get it for free. So there's no kickbacks. So there's no kickbacks coming to Justin. Why am I doing this? Because I love Joffrey. I've known Joffrey for 20 years or over 20 years. I trust Joffrey. I actually know his sister now, and I trust and love her. Again, not in an inappropriate way. I do that because I have nothing but admiration, and my endorsement is absolutely genuine. Go to Hotel Sales Institute. If you can't spell it, then you probably shouldn't go there because we can't help you. But it's Hotel, Hotel, Sales, Sales, Institute, Institute, Hotel Sales Institute, Facebook group, private VIP place. Go there, join in, get the free books at the very least.
Exactly.
And who knows what'll happen if you stick around there, because this is someone I've seen him interview. I've witnessed a lot of the great transformations in profits and revenues that he has helped people to engineer and create, even during tough economic times. In the last 20 years, this isn't the first recession or economic challenge that we've had. It may be the worst. It may be remarkable because of pandemic. And if you're listening to this and we're out of it, awesome. In times of prosperity, this can only be 100 times more effective. What I didn't say is that this gentleman, and you guys will love this, has also worked with, I don't know if you want me to say this. If you hate me, I'm sorry. He has also worked with Grant Cardone. So if you want to leverage all of that power and all of that wisdom, then you go to Hotel Sales Institute right now. Or, well, no, in a couple minutes when we end off this podcast. Don't leave now. Just wait a few minutes, go to Hotel Sales Institute, ask to join, and I'm sure Joffrey would love to have you there and to share his life's work with you. So Joffrey, thank you so much for being here. I love you, man, and I cannot wait to speak with you again. It's always a joy. Thank you, Joffrey.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your acknowledgments as well and your compliments. And love you too. So glad to see your great success as well. And just a privilege to be on your show today. Thanks again.
Thank you. So guys, this is Justin signing off for Justin Answered the podcast. And if you're watching live, thank you so much. Kisses and hugs to ya. And I cannot wait to see you face to face, shake your hand, give you a hug, all of that once we are once again permitted to do that. And if we never meet, well, that's okay too. I still love you. Bye for now.